OBS and the browser at the same time
Yeah.
if I don't turn it down. So I just hear an echo and it bothers me.
Yeah.
And 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, guys, it's going to be a little bit different tonight. This is just going to be a quick overlay, not a regular visuals or anything like that. But I had a conversation with Evil here 2 weeks ago, and he came back saying a lot about the Gretchen Whitmer case, and he wanted to prove it. Here we are. I'm going to give him every bit of opportunity he needs. He can do the slideshow. You can do whatever. We got Rick, and I'm sorry, your name was Hello, Retro. Okay. But we got Rick and Retro in the background. They'll be keeping everything going here. They'll be keeping everybody cool. But go ahead with your screen share here. I'll let you take it away.
Evil, pause for a second. On your stream, people can't hear you. Yeah. I'm also pausing the timer.
You might have to add the Discord sound to it.
True.
If they can't hear him, he might want to just restart it or restart the whole thing. I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, yeah. Also, to clarify, I'm doing a 10-minute timer for each of you.
Alrighty, can they hear me now?
It should be ringing out in OBS. If you can see the bar move in OBS, they can hear you. I try to keep mine at about -6 as far as the limit is concerned, so it's not overwhelming.
Okay, okay. Yeah, they can hear you. All right. 10 minutes starting now.
Okay, wait, they can still hear me, right?
Yeah, they can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Alrighty, so for the people involved, we have Adam Fox and Barry Croft. These are the two ringleaders. They were found guilty in federal court. Below them, we have Joseph M. Morrison. He got 10 to 20 years for materially aiding a terrorist, which is separate from kidnapping conspiracy. It's a lesser charge, but he still got a lot of time because he was a ringleader. Pete Musico was his second in command. He also got 12 to 20 years, and he was his son in law, I believe. And Paul Bellular got 7 to 20 years. He was a lower level guy in their organization. For the people pleading guilty, we have Ty Garbin, who pled guilty. He was originally sentenced to 6.25 years. It was later reduced to 2.5. Caleb Franks, Steve Shaw, or Sean Fix, and Brian Higgins, all for, different ones. Conspiracy kidnapping, providing material support in a gun crime, material support for an act of terrorism. You see, these are split pretty much evenly between state and federal. They're basically the same charges, just based on whether they cross state lines or not. That's what differentiates them. Now we have the not guilties. There is a common thing among these guys. We have Daniel Harris, Brandon Caserta, Eric Molitor, and both Michael and William Knoll were both found not guilty. All of them were lower level guys, and Michael and William Knoll had an extra special reason why they were found not guilty, which is kind of interesting. Now I'd like to get into the timeline. This starts in October of 2019. They begin following Barry Croft. He's under surveillance for talking to a wanted fugitive and posting about killing feds on the internet. Now, when I say the internet, I mean Facebook. Okay, this guy is not very smart. In February, they've been following Barry Croft since 2019. The reason they were following him is he was in communication with a wanted fugitive. They found him while investigating that wanted fugitive. They saw that he was posting about killing government officials and saying all kinds of crazy things on the internet. And they said, hey, let's keep an eye on this guy. He seems a little wild. Moving on to February of 2020, Croft and Adam Fox became friends on Facebook. Croft is a Delaware resident and Fox is a Michigan resident, so that's where crossing state lines comes in for Croft. They text each other phrases that seem questionable, especially when one party is already under suspicion. You can find that, I believe it is on page 3. There are some quotes there that we can pull. Let me scroll on up.
You're going to need to screen share on the Discord side.
Oh, do you need that? Are you not streaming my screen?
You're going to have to put it up in Discord for me to see your screen.
Is it not? Up there?
Nope.
I see it. I see him streaming.
Wait. Because that might be a show now video. Oh, okay. I got to bring that. Yeah, you're right. My bad. I forgot to start it up.
Okay.
All good.
Let me see. I did post a link to the court case as well in the chat that we're using.
I put it into Rich's chat on his show.
Oh, awesome.
So they have it.
There you go.
Nice.
Awesome. Hello, guys. If you wanted to take a read of that, it's a very interesting read. 43 pages, though, so I'll try to be fast. So moving on, we have they get to know each other. There's some quotes. We can go look at those quotes later. I think they're on, I'm not sure where they're at, but they're somewhere on page 3 or 4. March 2020 comes along, and now we're skipping somewhere else. We have Croft and Adam Fox. They are two guys who are talking to each other and saying crazy shit off in the side. Now we have Chappell, who is one of the government informants you might remember. He joins a group called the Wolverine Watchmen, which is a militia group in Michigan. He's a guy who believes what they say. He believes in the Second Amendment. He's a veteran, and he joins the group, and he goes, hey, when I joined, at first we were talking about guns. I love guns. We go shooting together. I enjoy that. I enjoy training with firearms. All of that is perfectly legal. But he notices that they are talking a lot about killing police officers, and they seem to be making some kind of plans in general. So what he does is he goes to his friend, who is a police officer. He tells them what he's seeing and hearing, and a week later, the FBI comes to him and says, we would like for you to be an informant for us. And he agrees to wear a wire. That means that he is recording all of this. Or not all of it. There are certain instances where he goes, yeah, they want to do this. They think that there's going to be important information. They put a wire on him for those instances, namely FTXs and other meetings that we'll cover shortly. Moving on to March 2020, Chappell becomes an informant, covered that. In April of 2020, Croft posts on Facebook about how kidnapping a governor could kick off a second American Revolution. Now, the reason that's important is Croft is a member of the Three Percenters. They're people who believe that they can start a second American Revolution if just 3% of Americans were to rise up in rebellion. He's got multiple 3%er tattoos. He's got pictures of him in Boogaloo organization like attire. It's very clear that this guy is anti-government and would like to start an American civilization. Moving on, we got May of 2020. Throughout this time, there are messages going from Fox to all kinds of people. You can find details about that on page 21, which is not part of the court's timeline, so I'll wait before I jump to that. In June of 2020, there is a meeting in Dublin, Ohio. This is when Fox and Croft meet in person for the first time. So Croft crosses state lines to come to this meeting. And then Croft is openly caught advocating for using explosives against the government. Think IEDs, like you would see in Iraq or Afghanistan. Steve Robeson is also there. They knew that Fox and Croft were going to go there, so they asked Robeson if he would wear a wire to this meeting. 1 week after the Dublin, Ohio meeting, Croft starts to actively recruit Fox into a more active role. He introduces him to the Watchmen leaders. We have multiple calls from this and recordings where Fox is calling them and saying he wants to do something big. He wants to do something that's going to make actual change, and he's tired of fucking around, unquote. So, Barry Croft, he calls Fox part of his Michigan Regiment of the 2nd Constitutional Army. And that goal of that group, which so far just consists of Croft and Fox because they're idiots, is to start a second American Revolution, specifically by targeting governors to send messages that'll make people afraid and start kicking off other revolutions in other states. That's their goal. Fox leaves a lot of suspicious messages on the top page 4. That's the quotes I was looking for. My bad. On June 20th, a meeting is held at the Vac Shack, which is where Adam Fox lives. It's actually his former employer's basement, and the former employer is quoted in this indictment. I forget where, but he said that he felt sorry for Fox because he was kind of crazy, and so he just let him live there for free after COVID happened because he felt bad for him. But anyways, in the Vac Shack, Fox required attendees to surrender their phones. This is 3 weeks after Dublin. And they have surrendered their phones, but Chappell is there, and he's wearing a wire. Keep in mind, Robeson is not there, and Chappell is the Army veteran who's, the guy pure of heart. Robeson we'll talk about in a second. He's a little crazy. But Chappell is the good guy, and he was the only one there, and he recorded this, okay? Days later, Fox reaches out, or let's see. Fox claims he got the ideas from going to Dublin, Ohio, but it's very clear he went to Dublin, Ohio to get ideas about this. Days later, Fox reaches out to Keepers, that's his name, who is an old friend of his from 2017-2018. He's asking for explosives. He gets denied. And then on June 28th, at the Munich FTX, which is what they called their field training exercises, Fox openly advocates for arresting the governor, and he also states if an opportunity presents, we'll engage. God knows the governor needs hung. He says that all on his own. This is Fox and Barry Croft so far being absolutely insane. And we have Morrison and Musica and I forget the other guy's name, the guilty verdicts, who were all helping him along. They were the leaders of this Watchmen group. In July of 2020 at an FTX in Cambria, Wisconsin on July 10th, Croft says he doesn't want to kill civilians, but laments that you don't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. So unfortunately, bad decisions have put us in a place where eggs are going to have to get broke. During the FTX, they do a lot of things. They practice coordinated small squad tactics, including live ammo practice for room clearing and combat-related injury first aid. Croft brings an IED building kit to the FTX, but his first attempt to build an IED fails. On the last day of the FTX, he explains his whole plan to an informant, which is quoted on page 5 and 6. A week later, Fox tells government sourced multiple plans, including one that involved kidnapping the governor. On July 27th, he repeats these plans to the government informant. This is 2 months after he supposedly was influenced by Robeson, and he's still going along with this plan. So on August 29th, Chappell, Fox, and Molitor conduct the first reconnaissance of the government's home. They do a lot of things. They search places to put IEDs. On September 2020, Chappell gets a text asking where he can get the materials to carry out this kidnapping. He gets that text from Fox. On September 11th, Croft tells Chappell that he has a design for an IED that would use pennies as shrapnel. The FBI instructs Chappell to connect Croft with undercover agent Timothy Bates, who would be an undercover explosive seller and an old friend of Chappell's. Now, they found where they tested this IED that was made out of fireworks parts and pennies, and it fucked up a good portion of a small forest. So they did have a working IED. So when they offered to sell them C4, they were just trying to make their working IED even more effective.
That is 10 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, and then after that, they go to
No, he can
pick it
keep
up.
going. Keep going.
I can keep going.
Keep
Okay,
going.
okay. Sure. Yeah, go
Oh,
for
okay.
it.
Thank you. Very gracious of you, because I'm not even halfway done. On September 20th, they get these texts. On September 11th, Croft tells Chapel that he has designs for an ID. Yeah, we covered that. On September 12th, they conduct a second reconnaissance. So they have been down to reconnaissance the governor's home. They're clearly making plans to kidnap the governor. There is no doubt. Okay? The new plan is not to kill, but to kidnap and send a message by stranding governor in a boat without a motor in the middle of Lake Michigan. On the way there, Fox and Croft stop and photograph the underside of the previously mentioned bridge, and they discuss where they're going to place the explosives because they had a plan. And let me explain the plan to you because I don't think I've explained it in full. Their plan is they are going to go to the governor's mansion. They are going to set IEDs up on the opposite side of town. Then they are going to place explosives underneath the bridge and blow up the only bridge that connects that town with the rest of the world. After that, they intended to use a boat to cross a river, get to the governor's home, put her in the back of the boat, drive that boat back across the lake into a trailer that will be already in the water, secure it to the trailer, drive over to Lake Michigan, put the boat back in the water, drive out to the middle of Lake Michigan, and leave her stranded in a boat with no motor, and then get another boat to take them back. That is their plan at this point in September. That is what they're trying to stop. And the FBI shows up and says, hey, we need this to end. They say they want to buy explosives. They already have a working prototype of an IED. We need to do something to arrest them. So Chapel offers them that he knows a guy who can sell them a C4. They meet with this undercover officer. They make a deal to buy C4 from him. They then cross state lines to go get it from him. And those are the people who, two of them pled guilty, and the other one was Adam Fox, and he was found guilty. Those are the people who actually traveled to get the C4 completely on their own. Then October 20, all that happens. This happens on October 7th. They go across and they try to get the explosives. They are arrested there. Barry Croft flees. They arrest him in New Jersey on the highway where he's running with like $300 in his pocket. That's all he has. And it's really kind of sad. And yeah, so I imagine all of the objections that Drunken Senpai is going to have are going to be covered in the appeals court decisions. And that's, they're pretty in depth. But I'll go ahead and end my opening statement. That is the statement of facts. That is what we are discussing. This was a plot to overthrow, not really, it was a bad plot to overthrow the United States government, but it was a semi-working plot to kidnap a sitting governor of a state. That, you can say they got the idea for how to do it from Joe Robeson. You can say that. Maybe all the informants told them how to do it, but it is beyond contention that they wanted to do this before they ever met an informant, and they were actively making plans to do it before they met the informants. So I yield to Drunken Senpai.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
By all means.
And this is really going to not be relevant to the case, but it gives me a level of understanding. How much do you know about good old boys from the South?
None. I don't even know who you're talking about.
Okay. So we have guns, we have explosives, we have tannerite that we play with. We shoot tannerite.
You're talking about
for fucking
boys.
fun.
Hold on. You're talking about boys in general.
Yes.
I didn't understand the
Yes.
question. I'm sorry.
Okay. Now, let's take a supposed journey. And this is my argument. This was my argument from the very beginning. I say something like, "Hey man, look, there's this group over here. They're gonna cause problems. They're gonna want to try to kidnap the governor." Okay, how would you go about doing it so I could understand maybe more of how people of my type of caliber would the explosives, blowing up the bridge, all of that shit, or anything of that nature where you could make up a story and then I go and this out, tell you how it's done. If you want to think of it like the movie Shooter. I tell you, I plan it out, everything of that nature. And then the government arrests me for helping you plan this out. Okay?
I've never watched Shooter.
We
To
go
be
to
fair.
court. We go to Shooter. The movie is the dude actually shows how you can make a really long shot to kill a high profile target. Well, it happens and they blame him for it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. But we go to court. I get to find out in my case, my first case, that there was more government officials involved than there was civilians, informants or agents, doesn't matter. They were the ones that were actually heading this up and planning this. I get a mistrial. In my next case, I'm not able to bring up the fact that we were saying, hey, what if scenario government was involved? Everything you just said makes sense. If I can't prove to you that the government was involved in setting it up, I was just giving them information on how you could do it. Now it looks like I am trying to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer if I am telling government agents on how I would do it. If I can't give you that information, it looks like I am trying to kidnap. Correct?
I suppose.
So if I go to prison because I can't say the government came to me and said, how would you go about doing this? We're trying to protect her. How would you go about doing this in the most fucked up way you possibly could? And I can't prove in the court of law that you asked me that question. Everything I give you makes me look like I am trying to plan to kidnap, right? So I'm going to give you this right here from even CNN. Entrapment at play. The same thing right here. They were not able to give up crucial information that says there was more people that were involved in the planning and they were just furthering the information. Again, if I cannot prove that I was not the one, I just gave information that would lead to more of a conclusion, then how in the hell can I prove my innocence?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. You're talking about wait. First off, before that, your source is the CNN article. Just to clarify, this is where your questions are coming from. Just to
I was giving this in reference so you understand exactly my point that I was giving. You know,
okay.
there's no way you cannot understand the question. If I cannot prove in the court of law that I only gave information, in my theory, in my whole hypothetical, if I could not prove in the court of law that the government asked me, what would you do in this situation so we can protect her? It does straight up look like kidnapping. If a judge says, I cannot allow you to have that information that proves the government said, what would you do just in case? It does look like kidnapping. Not illegal. The judge can block whatever evidence the judge wants to. I did say it was wrong. That's just like easily railroading somebody into a guilty verdict when you cannot prove your actual innocence. There's no way you can argue that.
I'd like to try. Can I have the floor for a moment?
Go ahead.
So, could you bring up my stream, please? There we go. So, Section D, or Section 2, Subsection D, which is on pages 32 to 43 of the court case that I brought before you, explains how this court came to their conclusions. Now, what you're describing, that is illegal. The government cannot come up to you and tell you, hey, how do you want to do this crime? And then when you go, well, fuck, I guess I do it like that. They go, ha, gotcha. That is illegal. There are other elements to it. You need to be planning it. You need to be taking active steps. For example, if you were planning to blow up a bridge, you might do a reconnaissance and crawl underneath the bridge to locate places to place the explosives. And you might take notes of those. And the government might have those notes, which is what happened here. However, this is a really interesting part of the case. It's the only one where you're somewhat correct. The district court is claiming, or the defense claims that the district court abused its discretion when it limited the omission of informant statements to those that repeated the words of the federal agents, which is Section D, pages 32 to 43. I pulled out quite a few fun quotes from here. Defendants maintained that the district court erred by limiting the scope of the admissibility of certain government informant statements, only allowing those that were regurgitations of statements made by a federal agent, pursuant to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 801D, subsection 2, subsection D, and our holding in Brenham v. United States, and more citations. Generally, they're quoting, a district court's evidentiary rulings will not be reversed absent a clear showing of abuse of discretion. So they need to prove that the court failed to use its discretion when it discounted these statements. That's found on page 32 in their opening explanation. They also need to prove that it was harmful to the case. Now, in subsection 1 of that subsection of a subsection of a subsection is on pages 32 to 36. It says the inadmissibility of hearsay under Rule 802 is premised on the theory that out-of-court statements are subject to particular hazards. The declarant may be lying, he might have misperceived the events which he relates, he might have faulty memory, his words might be misunderstood or taken out of context by the listener. This is from page 32, where they explain why hearsay is bad. This is hearsay comments that we're discussing here. In Brenham, the defendant challenged the district court's decision to sustain the government's hearsay objection to defense counsel's general inquiry, yada, yada, yada. Some circuit courts have yet to address the issue of... Anyways, the conclusion is that basically you're right. They should have admitted those statements, but they need to prove that it harmed the case by not allowing those statements in. Because they didn't... When you read the case, let me see if I can find it for you. It's way down here on page 30. Where's the... Conclusions are on page 36. So let's go to page 36, and I'll find it for you. So this is harmless error. This is the second section. So the circumstances described by the district court is merely one example of when government informant statements may be used in furtherance of investigative goal. We have not suggested that it is the only possible scenario, which is why the district court rejected it. As such, the district court erred in placing such a limitation on informant statements here. Notably, because of the court's formulation of the rule, i.e. that only informant statements made at the behest of the agency were admissible, there was not a particularized ruling as to the 258 informant statements at issue. Now, the remaining questions before us is whether this error was harmless, and that is where they're going to decide, like, they should have let those statements in, but was that helpful to their case, all the statements that they wanted to add? Because the defense is happy to say these statements will totally exonerate us, but the appeals court looked, and if you look at subsection 2 of subsection D, harmless error, it explains for the next 7 pages why there was no harm done, and therefore they were not going to overturn it and give them a new trial. They were found guilty completely legally and justifiably, and everything there is okay. We can read the next 7 pages if you'd like, but it's very dense material.
So you mean to tell me the evidence that got in a mistrial last time is not good, and it does not harm his case to prove that he is innocent in the next one? The same material that caused a mistrial in the last one is the same material that's not allowed, and somehow it doesn't harm the case.
Well, how do you know that this is what caused the mistrial?
Because this is the material that was brought up in the mistrial. This was what proved that the government, 2/3 of the whole damn group was government.
When you say it was proved in the mistrial, do you mean the second trial?
Holy shit, dude.
The second trial, or what?
Look, this is not a gotcha thing.
Wait,
This is
no,
not a
it
gotcha
totally
thing.
is,
This-
because you don't know what a mistrial
No.
is. You have no idea.
Bullshit.
You're using it incorrectly.
Bullshit. Stop, please.
Can I explain?
Please. No, listen. You obviously did not follow this case when it went down. It was a very high profile case, a very political profile case.
It was indeed.
The evidence that caused the mistrial was the evidence that was blocked because it proved that there were government agents that were setting this up. Again, with your whole thing of, oh, they were looking around, they were spotting. Okay, let me ask you a question. How can I say, hey, this guy walks around this corner every day at this time? It'd be a great place to grab him. If I don't go there looking for every camera, every angle, every window open, every possibility for somebody to see something, wouldn't you have to scout out the case to say that's a great opportunity? Again, if I could not prove that the government actually said, how would you do this? It looks like I'm scouting out opportunity. If I cannot prove there is no that if I cannot prove that this was not really an intention, just something I would do to plan for, to help you out, and I can't prove I'm helping you out, just like the movie Shooter, which you said you did not see, guaranteed, watch it. It's actually a great movie. If I can't prove that, it looks, all intents and purposes, like I'm kidnapping. If I didn't know as a jury that the government came to me and said, hey, look, we're trying to protect her, somebody wants to kidnap her, how would you do it? If I couldn't prove that happened, it would look, in all intents and purposes, like I was the one doing it. Right?
That is correct, yes. But that is not what
Okay.
happened in this case. You can read the case for yourself.
The information that gained the mistrial in the first place was the information blocked, and you're saying it is not relevant to the. Then how did it cause a mistrial if it's not relevant?
The reason there was a mistrial is because there was a split jury for two of the defendants. That's what
And
triggered
for
the mistrial.
what reason was that?
Because I don't know any reason.
Because the government was involved and it came out in that court case.
Did you see the
And
jury
that same
deliberations?
Dude, we followed that.
Did
We
you?
have not on this channel, Rob Govea. We went through court filing after court filing for the entire damn thing. Just like the Proud Boys case, all 65 fucking days of that. We went through this shit religiously. Yes.
This case lasted, I think, 2 years.
Yes.
Yes, you followed it every day for
Yes.
2 years, every filing.
Every Robert Govea Esquire, I have been with that group for fucking years.
Okay, well then you can. What is the testimony that they excluded that you think is so exculpatory? Can you show it to me?
The evidence in the evidence that hung jury in the mistrial case that made them say no, there was government officials involved. They were the ones really making the plans. There is a reasonable doubt.
Okay, well then can you?
And that evidence that said there is a reasonable doubt was not allowed in the mistrial case.
And which evidence was that?
So, yes, that is absolutely 100% fucking wrong. You cannot argue that shit when you are not allowed to prove that you are not the main culprit in any of it. Yes, it is 100%. Again, a judge can deny whatever evidence he wants to. But if you damn sure want a political fucking win, you're gonna do it. And especially at a charge time when this case was doing this in 2020 fucking two, that was the whole midterms, the MAGA bad, everybody's bad, Republicans are Nazis bullshit. Yes, this was a politically charged fucking case from beginning to fucking end.
So you just don't trust the second jury at all?
I don't trust when a judge tells me I can't really defend myself in the court of law.
Wait, hold on. I have another.
So that means it's a predetermined fucking outcome when I can't defend myself.
I have a question. You said that you followed every filing, correct?
Not every single fucking filing, every single one that made fucking any kind of impact on the case. Yes.
Are you seeing this appeals decision for the first time?
Yeah, actually, yes, I am.
So how can you say that you follow every important filing? That's a clear
The
lie.
appeals, it, it,
This is the most
it's a
important
clear-
filing.
it's a clear lie that this is a well documented all the way up until CNN talks about how the judge denied exculpatory evidence that would have helped.
And
It's
you
a clear fucking lie, right?
and you
It's
just
not that
conveniently didn't
it's
see the
not
only
the
court
fact
case
that
that
in this
exonerated them?
article right here, it's not the fact that in this article right here, they were talking about why Gretchen Whitmer wasn't going after Trump. And it's sitting here, oh, well, he was going to actually, there was talk about him pardoning the people that were thrown in prison. And he told me he wasn't going to do that. So I don't want to attack him.
Wait, so did you realize that article is from before this court case was released, right? This appeals decision. So you just conveniently stopped paying attention when you were proved wrong.
You realize this shows how politicized this shit is, right?
That's how politicized you're making it.
No.
Yeah, I don't think
No.
it's political at all.
This shows politicization of this whole damn thing as well, because this actually does actually kind of intend to believe that she knew about this. And she knew that this case was bullshit from the very beginning, and she knew the federal government was involved.
Here, connect those dots for me. I'm
It
going to
is
pull your
very,
stream.
very politicized. And you're gonna sit there and tell me that this right here, no, we can't actually get out an appeal. We can't let these people out because we have gone through time after time after time of them being in prison. Oh, the J6 defendants, right? They were pardoned. Everybody got pissed off at that. Why? Well, the people that that respected fucking velvet ropes got convicted.
Unfortunately, I'm not here to debate January 6th. I'm here to debate the Michigan kidnapping trial.
So you can't draw parallels to thing and it be a thing. Oh, okay. So
Well,
we can't go that direction.
I don't speak
Dude,
on
this is
something I'm not
pathetic.
informed on.
This is fucking pathetic. Oh, just because you don't know the latest appellate here.
Well,
This is pathetic. This is a pathetic attempt to actually try once again for a clip, like I said.
Hold up. Why don't you
Because
bring up the
what you
court
were
case? We'll go
trying
through
to
it.
do right now, what you were trying to do right now is say, hey, the politicization that led to two men being railroaded is okay because the appellate decision said we have to uphold this. Never mind the fact that they were not allowed to prove their innocence. It's okay because the appellate court just said we have to uphold this in a political fucking case. Wait a minute.
Well, they explain over 30
Are you
pages.
trying to argue that? Are you trying to argue it is okay that you cannot prove that you are innocent in a case that is political as hell? It is okay for that, right?
Well, they explain why over their 40-page explanation. If you would like to go through it with me, I'd be happy to.
Are you trying to argue that is okay?
I'm trying to argue
just
the
like you
court
tried
made a great
to
argument.
argue that a civilian working for a civilian organization commit federal hate crimes, and it's okay as long as they tell the FBI beforehand and somebody calls them an informant. You were trying to say it is okay to be railroaded in a politically charged case.
Rick, it's Rick, right? Not, I'm correct, Rick. Can I have the floor for just a moment?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, Senpai hasn't even read this appeals decision, but there is 40 pages explaining why everything was legal and correct. These individuals, and this is the thing he doesn't want you to acknowledge because it completely disproves his entire point, they already wanted to kidnap a governor. We have a quote from Barry Croft where he says, "I've been wanting to kidnap and kill a governor since December of 2019. They didn't meet Robeson until June or July, one of the J months. Like, bro, this is so long before they even met a government informant."
Okay. Let's take it this route then. You're talking about, oh, he's wanted to do that since 2019. What was happening in 2019? Tell me.
A lot of things. In October of 2019? I don't know. Why don't you lay it out for me?
Politically charged atmosphere. Everybody was out there in the streets trying to riot because of, well, no, 2019 was before the lockdowns. Everybody was getting pissy because Orange Man still existed. The lockdowns came. Joe Biden came into office. Everybody was rioting, all that other bullshit. When all that was happening, not a single actual motherfucker did any real time for the riots. And this comes up and people are like, oh, I've been wanting to kidnap and kill one of these motherfuckers for a minute. You know how many other motherfuckers have done that? Especially
Probably a lot.
especially left-wing motherfuckers. Okay? So if you cannot prove in the court of law that you actually, what? I say I want to kidnap and kill somebody there. Oh, that proves intent? When you
No, they're
cannot prove that you were not the one that actually made the fucking plan, you just gave maybe a little bit of information about it, but you can't prove that in a court of law, and somehow it's okay.
Wait, do you think that if I went to a cop and I said I want to buy drugs and he goes, "You can buy drugs over here," and he points me to an undercover officer who arrests me on the spot, is that illegal? Because they clearly wanted to do this. I don't know if
If
Robeson
I
gave them
go
some
to a
actionable
if I go
ideas, but
to a
they're the ones
cop
who
and
did
ask
it.
him where I can buy drugs and he points me to an undercover,
Mm-hmm.
why would the cop not arrest me on site
Well,
if
let's
he's the
assume
cop?
it's an undercover cop, and for safety reasons, perhaps, for any number of reasons. Let's say safety.
No, it is not illegal, but it is illegal if they tell you, if they don't in the court of law say, "Hey, you know what? I also went up to him and said, 'Hey, look, dude, you look a little bit high to me. I know you want some drugs. You can get some over here.'" And the guy goes, "Okay, thank you." And I don't give you that information and just say, "You walked up to me asking for drugs." I can't give you truth. And so was I the one that asked for the drugs? Did I initiate the setup? If I can't prove that in a court of law,
If
it
it's a
would be the
government,
cop's word against mine then, right?
if it's a government informant, as you're alleged, that's a more accurate way to do this metaphor for this case.
Which
If it,
two-thirds of the fucking group that was government informants that were setting this up.
are you counting the people who testified in the trial after pleading guilty?
I'm counting every single person that was involved in the case. Every single person that was involved in this kidnapping operation, yes, damn near two-thirds of the people involved were agents or informants. This is well damn documented.
Well, I believe they mentioned like 2 people, and then there's people who flipped. Let's go up
It's
to my
well
list
damn
of people who did it.
documented through the entire ones, the ones found guilty, the ones that were acquitted, the ones that were railroaded. It is well documented that roughly two-thirds of the group were federal agents or informants themselves, and they were the one that was coordinating the plan. This is well fucking documented
Well,
throughout the entire damn case.
I
The argument of saying, "Hey, just like I gave for the shooter thing, to sit there and say, 'This is how I would do it,' that would be an argument you could fucking make in the situation. And why would you plan it out? Well, you know what? I don't like them. How would I do it in the best way? Because I don't like somebody? Let's make it a little bit more realistic. Let's scan this out. Scout it. Let's do the real thing. I can't prove that that was an actual thing in court. It does look like I'm kidnapping. Yes, it is wrong in the court of law to do that. And you're trying to say that the appellate court is just saying, hey, a very political case, we may need to keep the same outcome just so this does not turn into a powder keg, is still okay because so.
okay. Well, I'm
What
looking.
fucking world do you live in? You're talking about how the right's always authoritarian? What the fuck kind of authoritarian bullshit is that to say that two people must remain in prison because they couldn't prove that they're because the government would not allow them to prove they were innocent?
Well,
What the actual fuck, dude?
the government were allowed to prove they're innocent. They had ample opportunity to question Ty Garbin, Caleb Franks, Sean Fix, Brian Higgins. Those were the people who pled guilty and flipped and testified on behalf of the prosecution. The defense was able to cross-examine them. That's in the court documents. There was a time limit placed on it, which is addressed in the appeal. The appeals court decided that they were asking questions that had already been asked. They were continuing to just draw out their questioning in the hopes of confusing the jury, and therefore putting a time limit on the lawyers was totally acceptable. So I don't know what you're complaining about, because none of the things you're complaining about actually happened in this case.
Yes. That was the whole goddamn
Yeah.
point.
That you were completely wrong?
None of this actually happened in the case that the mistrial happened. And then there was another case where the government or where the judge told them that they weren't allowed to explain that the government set it up. None of that actually. What do you mean none of that actually happened? Hold on.
Well,
That's the whole fucking argument, dude.
can you bring up the court filing where they said we believe the government set this all up? Can we take a look at that? Can we bring that on screen?
Do I have the one from the mistrial one? Do I have that? No, I didn't have to bring that up. I thought we were talking about the actual mistrial case or The second case itself.
You
I
can
didn't
bring.
go through any of the court filings from the first one where they actually proved this shit.
I'll
And
re-
that would take a lot more time. I thought we were going to talk about this.
I'll rephrase my
Holy
statement. Can you
shit.
bring up any evidence to back up what you're saying?
About every bit of the scribed fucking archive of the whole thing right here from 4 fucking years ago. How about all of this right here from it?
Okay, let's open one of these and look.
How about that? You want the whole goddamn link, dude?
Let's bring up the
I can
motion
give
for
it to
file
you.
in limine.
Not a problem.
No, no, no.
Not a fucking hold on.
Bring
I'm
up the
gonna give
PDF.
it to you. There ain't no fucking way in hell you're gonna sit here argue 4 years removed that this shit's still fucking right. No.
Bring up the PDF on your screen by all means. Whichever one you feel proves your case the best. I don't want to be accused of trying to strawman you or anything like that.
Proves my case the best. All right, let me actually try to check this. Barry Croft appeal. Which one?
Anyone
What
you
was that? Acquittal motion for Barry Croft. Let's see. Law and argument motion for acquittal. The United States Scrubs. Which one was this? This is a strong public interest in giving the prosecution opportunity to convict those who had violated the laws. Double jeopardy clause embodies two vitally important interests. First is deeply ingrained principle that the state and all resources and powers should not be allowed to make its attempt. Uh, no, this was the one before the judge had made that ruling on
I'll wait. I'll wait.
the rules of it.
Please
I'll
find
have
something.
to find it.
Find it. I'll wait. You guys want to take a smoke break? Whatever you want to do.
Which one was it? Let's see. Which one was this? This is from 422 of 22. Defendant Adam Fox request for judgment of acquittal with evidentiaries changing conspiracy is somewhat fluid. Let me close. How do I close this window over here? Fuck it. Let's see. With evidentiary standard for conspiracy is somewhat fluid, it does demand that the government produce evidence that is actual agreement between the alleged conspirators. That this is specific and a sharp distinction from evidence of a conspiracy with an undercover agent or informant. The evidence presented at trial, even when viewed in the light of most favorable of the government, did not establish that there was an agreement between Adam Fox and any of the defendants to kidnap the governor or to purchase or use a weapon of mass destruction in furtherance of the kidnapping. A government agent or informant cannot be a conspirator. The government produced the evidence that Adam Fox attended April 3rd, 2020 protest at the Capitol in Lansing wearing a Hawaiian flooring shirt and open carrying AR style rifle on April 30th. Fox was one of many protesters who were lawfully admitted into the Michigan Capitol building. Michigan, blah, blah, blah. At the trial, Adam Fox and Barry Croft had developed a plan to kidnap the governor for Governor Croft, talking about the Boogaloo ideology. The government presented no evidence that established what of any details of the alleged agreement were. There was no evidence presented and established when or where the plan was made. Numerous federal agents in CHS Dan repeatedly testified that there was agreement was to kidnap and kill the governor, but there was no evidence to produce to support the reality of this repeated assertion. And the judge, all this information to prove this was not allowed.
Okay. Well, the appeals court directly addresses that. Could you switch to my stream, please?
Go ahead.
So this is on pages 20. Let's see. I took notes. 21 to 25, and addresses the entrapment claims. Let's see. Scrolling on up. Sorry. So subsection 4 on government entrapment. I'd first like to read this footnote. This is a theoretical on, like, even if their argument did go through about entrapment, what the real case is. So it says, the government argues, and we agree, that Fox did not raise the sufficiency of the evidence to defeat the entrapment defense on appeal. As such, any argument on this issue by Fox is deemed waived, that is, gotten rid of, or denied. We do not consider waived arguments because the waiving party has conceded that there is no error to review. So Fox didn't even contest this. but Croft did, I believe. Even if we were to reach this issue, the evidence against Fox was sufficient to show that he was predisposed to kidnap Governor Whitmer before being approached by government agents. Prior to the initial meeting in Dublin, Ohio, Fox repeatedly posted on Facebook about wanting to initiate the boogaloo about the 3%ers and wanting to use brute fucking force physical violence, end quote, to, quote, win our rights back and take back what is ours. And they reference exactly where they got that quote. Fox also posts videos and pictures of himself with guns and cuffs threatening to take back our country from politicians. Another quote in government example number 3. And after contact with Croft, Fox began sending private messages concerning putting together a team to, quote, get these fucking governors and arrest them and put them on trial for their crimes, end quote. Concluding that we're going to do it the fucking old citizens arrest way. That is government example number 20. Fox subsequently continued to threaten violence against governors, posting a video on Facebook saying that people should direct their anger toward the top of our tyrannical fucking government. Example 22 from the government. And leading up to his first contact with the government informant, he was already talking about being ready to go snatch a motherfucker, which is example 491 from the government. Fox not only talked, but also avidly participated in the plot from its infancy until his arrest. Fox proposed the idea of kidnapping Governor Whitmer from her vacation home. He avidly participated in every key meeting, telling Croft that he wouldn't miss one meeting even though it might cost him a job. That's government example 488. Fox also proposed, planned, and participated in both reconnaissance trips to Governor Whitmer's home, government example 113 and 223. And during those reconnaissance trips, he gleefully took steps toward kidnapping Governor Whitmer, government example 197 and 199. Those are hardly the actions of a reluctant innocent who's unwarily been hoodwinked into criminal behavior by a government agent, says the court. Taking Fox at his own words, there would be more than enough evidence to demonstrate that he was predisposed to commit kidnapping prior to any contact with government informants. So he was not entrapped. He already wanted to commit the kidnapping.
So you're telling me that the same rhetoric that everybody uses on a daily basis is proof that they wanted to?
I'm not saying that, no. That is incorrect. What I am saying is that
these posts that these Facebook posts that everybody does it. I mean, it could lead to an intent. You do have a point with that, but every single fucking person online does it. So if something happens, you're telling me there's evidence to prove that you wanted to do it because I say Kazakhstan this bitch?
Well, let me elaborate. So if you were to make those kinds of posts, then you were to go to multiple field training exercises where you practice small arm tactics, you practice breaching a home that is built to be a replica of your stated target's goal. I know, I'm sure you have.
I've done it.
And then building and testing an IED, which is part of your stated plan to infiltrate the governor's goal, and then going to the government to spend $4,000 on C4 to an undercover agent, which was stated to be used in this plan to kidnap the governor and be used as IEDs to distract the cops. Have you done that?
Okay. You know what else I'd do? Even if I wasn't really planning to do that? But dude, I have the chance to buy C4. You're goddamn right I'm gonna do it. It doesn't even matter if I be using it in that. Yeah. Oh, are you kidding me?
Okay, well, my legal advice to you, I'm not a lawyer. I feel completely comfortable giving you this legal advice. Do not write down on paper and on digital message on Facebook that you intend to use C4 to kidnap a governor, then buy a bunch of flex tapes and hoods, which you state in these same messages are used to kidnap the governor, and then come up with a plan to kidnap the governor, and then go scout out the governor's house twice, once stopping at the bridge that you plan to put the C4 under so you can mark locations to put the C4. If you do and then you go buy the C4 after training for this plan that you have on paper and recorded as you making all of those. If you do all of those things innocently, god, you might be what's called criminally stupid.
Again, all sounds fucking awesome, right? Except for the fact that there isn't really no evidence now that actually says that the government set this up and I was just planning it with them to protect her in the first place. I could make that argument. Guess what? The judge blocked that evidence from coming the fuck out in the court case. But I can show you everything about it, all from the fucking last one where they got the mistrial, where all that actually did come out. Yes, there were more agents that were involved in the planning of this than there were people. And yes, I did agree with you the first time. Anybody that gave material aid, yes. But when you sit there and actually stop, you block evidence that proves that the government was involved in the whole damn planning of it just to railroad at least somebody because we got to get more people. It's a political fucking case, dude.
Uh,
This was politicized from the very fucking beginning. And then you got Gretchen Whitmer out there crying, "Well, I don't want to go against Trump because he might pardon those two people that were railroaded and have to sit in prison." Yeah, come on.
Can you tell
Let's
me?
use some goddamn common sense through it all and stop playing stupid ass games with this.
Can you tell me when?
Use your common sense. Is it or is it not a good thing if the court denies you can prove your innocence?
Well, that would be bad. Yes.
Okay.
Now, can you?
That
hold
is
up.
the fucking argument that has always been the argument. Thank you. And you're going to sit here and tell me that, well, it's still true because of this reason, which is what everybody does on the internet and shit post.
Can you tell me when the government gave them the plan?
When the government, that the whole damn planning was done from them. What do you mean?
Well, that's not what the
The
appeals
initial
court says.
planning, the initial planning, the initial planning and everything done was, of course, the appeals court. You can't bring that shit up in court. If that was blocked by the judge, you can't bring that up. So why are you going to appeal on something that you can't bring up?
Oh, you can definitely bring that up to the
What do
appeals
you
court.
mean?
There's a section in here where the appeals court directly addresses it.
Okay, so show me the evidence of something that couldn't exist in this court case. What do you mean? I'd have to go back to the other one, and that's going to take a long time. I didn't know you wanted that shit. I'd have brought it back from a long fucking time ago if you wanted it.
But what did you
And
think a
that would
debate
take
meant?
a lot of searching to do.
Do you think this was just the Joe Rogan experience? We were going to have a beer and a chat, or did you think we were going to have a debate?
You said I lied about this. You said I lied that the government actually blocked information. And okay.
You said the government blocked information.
No, you said I lied about the government blocking information, which is well fucking documented everywhere. Dude, this is absolutely retarded. You were trying so hard to save face in this. And just admit it, you fucked up.
Well, no, what they blocked was irrelevant to the case. You read it.
Irrelevant to the case to actually prove that you're innocent. Yeah, yeah,
so-
it's irrelevant to the case, right?
So you think you know more than the appeals court? And the district court? And the district court before that? And the Supreme Court, who also denied
So
you hear
now
the appeal?
now we're going to an appeal to authority because you've got nothing left. This is fucking amazing.
Well, they are an
Yes.
actual authority,
Hey,
right?
let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question in the appeals court with Trump. Was that a right decision?
I disagreed with it.
Was it a right decision? How can you argue with a disagreement? Do you know better than the appeals court?
No, I disagree with it morally.
Okay.
But I agree
Okay,
with it
so
on
I
factual
can disagree
basis.
with something like this too, but do I know better than the appeals court? Do you understand how retarded that was? Stop.
What?
You're trying to get a win.
What's retarded
were
about
trying-
appealing to the ultimate authority of the land? I have to accept the Supreme Court's Trump decision, don't I? I have.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
Hey, there it is.
you just made an argument. I can disagree with it on the bounds that they were not allowed to prove their innocence. And that is my argument. Your argument is I disagree with it because Orange Man bad. I get you. Cool.
Well, no. That is not the argument
But
at
you
all.
cannot sit there and say that I lied about the representation of this shit at all. But
No,
the representation I made is they were not allowed to actually prove that the government was involved in their case, the crucial parts that the government was involved in their case. And you said I lied about that. Wherein everything that we have gone through says I lied.
I would like the floor for just a moment, please. Anyways, so the appeals court here actually addresses that because they did submit the declined information to the appeals court. The appeals court reviewed it. They said, in general, yeah, we think that all of this information should have been submitted. However, none of this information was relevant to the case. So, no harm, no foul. That is what the court says. And let me see if I can read an excerpt from the ruling, because I know you are very upset about my interpretation of things. Let's go with the appeals court interpretation of things. The government argues that the statements proffered by defendants, even if admitted, would not have had a material effect on the jury's verdict. We agree. The excluded statements, when reviewed as a whole, do not adequately support defendants' arguments that they were entrapped by the government. Recall that entrapment has two elements: a lack of predisposition and inducement. Here, the government introduced substantial evidence suggesting that the defendants were predisposed. That is, they did not beat the government as unwary innocents, referencing Matthews 485 U.S. et al. 63. That can be found on page 38 of the appeals court decision.
Of this, just to make sure, the same information that caused a mistrial, or for the jury, yes, the same information that caused the jury in the last trial to say, I don't fucking know, I don't think this dude really did it, is not allowed in your next case, and somehow, no harm, no foul.
Can I have the floor again for but a moment? I'll take that as a yes. If you would bring my stream up, please. I'm going to go up to
Sorry,
people.
forgot I had my push to talk turned on. I actually said yes.
Oh, okay, sorry. You're good. You're good. So let's look at these are the verdicts that I have on my screen. We have the not guilty verdicts, the pled guilty, and the guilty verdicts. Now, let's look at the guilty verdicts. We have Adam Fox, Barry Croft. They were found guilty in federal court. Those were the ringleaders, the planners. Now let's look at Joseph M. Morrison, Pete Musico, and Paul Bellar. They were all found guilty. Those were the heads of the Wolverine Watchmen, the president, vice president, and like co-treasurer or whatever the fuck. I forget what Paul Bellar's official role was, but these were all the high-ranking members of that group. Now, if we look at the not guilty people, we have Daniel Harris and Brandon Caserta. The reason they were found not guilty is because they were found to have, they paid money, but they argued like, we didn't really know that this money was going to a terrorist act. We thought it was going to just fucking around. And so they were found not guilty. Down below, you have Eric Molitor and Michael and William Knoll. These individuals, the only involvement they had with the case was they volunteered to circle the town while, the others that were found guilty were investigating that bridge for places to put explosives under it. They were circling the town and letting them know if the cops were coming or not. That's why they were found not guilty. They had a very minor role in this whole thing. So they were found. They
were still giving aid, right? They were still giving information, just like Adam Fox and Barry Croft were.
Well, yeah, but they couldn't prove intent. Intent is a very key thing in this thing. This is a conspiracy case. Intent matters possibly the most out of any of the different preconditions.
And if you cannot prove that the government came to you and said something like, hey, we want to protect her, how would you go about kidnapping her? In a case about you planning to kidnap her? Would that not be a bad thing? Now, we're still sticking with a hypothetical here. Would that or would that not be a bad thing if you could not prove that?
That would still be a bad thing. However, you weren't listening before when... Remember, I'm trying to find it. Oh
no, God. I was listening. You have still missed the point.
Well, no, let's see here. The government argues that the statements proffered by... I'm going to have to fucking bold this because we're going to come back to this a lot. The government argues that the statements given by the defendants, even if admitted, so they withheld them, but even if they had admitted them, this is after the appeals court reviewed all of those statements, because this is the appeal. They're saying, hey, they should have let us put this up. And the appeals court saying, hey, let us see them, let's read them, and we'll let you know what we think. So they reviewed these, and they say right here, we agree that it would not have a material effect on the jury's verdict.
So you all mean of this the government said, hey, the information about us setting it up, yeah, we agree, it wouldn't affect the case.
Yeah, and that ties into earlier
the government says, us being involved would not affect the case. Yeah, you're right. I would
No,
agree with that. Why would I give you information about my involvement in the case then? I mean, that's, yeah, of course. Of course, the government would agree that you can't bring up information about them being involved. What the fuck?
let's see. Let's go to government on entrapment because that's what you're referencing here.
Oh,
Um,
mm, yeah.
so in
We investigated ourselves and we found we did nothing wrong. It's okay.
So, if I could quote the court again, an entrapment defense requires proof of two elements: one, government inducement of the crime, and two, lack of predisposition on the part of the defendant to engage in the criminal activity. Now, this court saw those statements and they said, hey, these guys already wanted to commit the crime, so there is no entrapment here, according to the legal standard. They wanted to
These
commit a
guys
crime.
already wanted to commit the crime by shit posting like every other fucking normal American does on both left and right side. Okay, so I can grab any motherfucker off the side of the road and just say, hey, you know what? There's this plot. You seem like an unhinged dude from your fucking posting. There's this plot to kidnap the governor. How would you go about doing it? Yeah, you go scope it out. You do this. Hey, look, this is how I would do it. Cool. Now you got a fucking case of kidnapping here. Hey, guess what? In the court case, we can't actually you can't bring up the fact that I, as a government official, went to him and said, how would you go about doing it? You can't bring that up.
No, you.
And it's okay because the government says, yeah, I agree. You can't bring that up.
So, you're not listening to me here.
No, I am fucking listening. You're not getting it.
The government needs to find someone who already wants to commit the crime, and then, very key, and then these individuals need to go out and attempt to take steps to commit that crime. For example,
Let me ask you
they
a
need to
question.
build their
Hold
own
on.
home IED.
Hold on. Let me
Go ahead.
ask you a question. You think from any goddamn second whatsoever, if I wouldn't go to any left wing city or something like this and says, hey, look, I got a plan to kidnap and kill the president of the United States, you in on it? I wouldn't find a whole bunch of lunatics that would actually hear me out. Me as a government official, if Cash Patel set up a fucking sting to go do that in a left wing city, right? And then the whole goddamn thing turns out, oh, it's a kidnap and kill plot to kill the president of the United States. And in their court cases, it wasn't allowed to be brought up that Cash Patel himself was involved in setting up this whole damn thing. Would you or would you not rage out?
I would not.
You would not.
I would not.
You would not rage out that the Cash Patel and the FBI under Trump has set up a whole bunch of people for kidnapping charges that they themselves had set up.
No one's making them
You
agree to
would
go
not
kidnap
rage
someone.
the fuck out. Are
I would
you
not.
serious? No. Uh-uh. No. You are bullshitting like a motherfucker. That
I'm
would
not.
set this country ablaze and you know it.
It might set some people
But-
ablaze, not me.
But it's fine. It's fine. The whole goddamn argument here is it's fine. It's again the same argument. It's fine because the government said so.
No.
The government agrees that they shouldn't give up the information about the government involvement, so everything's cool, right? We're all copacetic.
If Cash Patel came up to me right now and he said, I want you to kidnap the governor and kill him, and I said, okay, and then I started gathering rope, and he goes, what's that rope for? And I go, oh, fucking kidnapping the president, right? Or the governor, whoever. We're kidnapping someone, right, motherfucker? And he was like, yeah, you're under arrest. That would be a legal arrest. That would be totally fine. That person should go to jail. They're crazy. Their plan might not have had a lot of feasibility of working, but they were clearly attempting to do it.
Let's keep the shooter reference with you. If Cash Patel came to you and said, hey, look, we got a plan here that's going on. We're gonna who's your governor? You're in California, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got a plan. Somebody's gonna kidnap Newsom.
Okay.
They're gonna do it in some weird, crazy ass way because they're a lunatic, right? You've made some weird, crazy ass lunatic posts. How would you go about doing it? You start gathering rope, you start doing all this. You got to prove it to me that it actually can physically be done. You start gathering up everything to do so. As soon as you do, well, guess what? You're going to jail because you wanted to kidnap Gavin Newsom. And guess what? In the court trial, we can't bring up the fact that Cash Patel came to you and said, "Hey, how would we get this done?" Would be bad for you, right?
That person, if they have a plan and they're trying to kidnap Newsom, they should go to jail, definitely.
So the actual government coming to you and asking you how you would do it, you would have to prove it to me, make sure it can physically be done, not just some crazy
No,
ramblings. This has to be proven.
it could be
You go
crazy.
about proving that this could happen to protect your governor, and they arrest you, claiming you kidnapped your governor. You can't prove in court that you were doing this to protect your governor. That would be bad for you, correct?
So I would support imprisoning them if one they took
You would
steps.
go to
Well,
prison for this.
do I was I already talking about arresting Trump extrajudicially? If I was, hell yeah. I should not take
I
steps
don't
to
know what
attempt to kidnap a
I,
politician. That
I
should
don't
be
know what
illegal.
insane postings you may actually make. I can admit it myself. I make insane postings too.
Well, let's hope to
But
God you never try to
but
act on
fine.
those postings.
That's a record of saying you would do that. Okay, so I use that as a record of saying you would do that, and I come to you and I say, yeah, how would you do this? But in court, I use that record of saying you would do that, cut out how would you do this, and show you planning out this whole damn thing. And somehow, you can't prove that I cut that section out, and it's okay.
You're proving that I'm taking steps to carry out the crime?
Taking steps to carry out the crime when I asked you, hey, how would you do this? And you got to prove to me that it's actually done. I cut out that whole section. From the start, you're crazy as shit, to the end. The section that actually connects everything and proves that you did that, I'm not allowed to prove.
I would have one question then. I would ask, did they
How are you
all
not understanding this problem?
No, I would have one question for them. I would say, did they already intend to do this before you offered it to them? Did they already want to
They
do
had
this?
no intent until you actually gave them every opportunity to do so. No.
Well, that's not what the court filing shows. It shows they clearly wanted to back in October of 2019.
By making insane ramblings that every other fucking American ever makes. Everybody across the fucking world makes these same goddamn claims.
I don't know if the government really started it. I believe actually that Chappell voluntarily became an informant, as I said before, after hearing what the Watchmen were talking about doing. He said, "I'm concerned," and he went to the police first.
And then
And then
2/3 of the group
they put a
were
wire on him.
behind this were feds and informants? Yeah. Yeah, the government set the whole thing up. They just started going around trying to get material support. And like you said, like I said, great. Those that are found fucking guilty of that, wonderful. You gave material support. Go to fucking prison. But if I don't care if they're guilty or not of the crime, if you cannot prove government involvement to defend yourself, it is fucking bad. Right?
Well, they knew the government was involved. They had the testimony of informants and undercover
And
agents.
if you cannot prove the government was the one that started the fucking plan, was planning all this shit that caused the mistrial that you had the first time, it would be fucking bad, right?
I'm not sure.
So how in the fuck did I misrepresent any of this?
Well, because they already intended to do this. They already had a plan. They wanted to kidnap a governor. They didn't have details, but they already wanted to kidnap a governor. They already had people. They already had reconnaissance missions. They had field training exercises. They had it written on a goddamn napkin after they fucking did the first reconnaissance. Yeah, they had a very clear plan. And also, you keep saying government inform. Could I actually, Rick, one more time? I need the floor. What you had here was a guy named Robeson, who I mentioned at the beginning. That's who you keep calling their government informant. Robeson was an informant. He was a criminal. Now, what you don't seem to understand about informants is that the court actually considers them private contractors. That's how it views them legally. Now, Robeson was at one meeting in the beginning of June. They were arrested in October. Robeson was arrested in September. So he was an informant, not the government. He was just someone who wore a wire on behalf of the government. He gave them ideas. He was later arrested and charged with all kinds of fun things. So I don't know why you're saying the government planted the idea. Steve Robeson, who is considered a private contractor, gave them the idea. And then because he was also a shady individual, he was arrested later as well.
Planning was done by the feds and their informants. I don't know where you're trying to come up with this whole thing of, hey, somebody has an idea. Look, cool. Let's get a group together. Isn't that how that happens in the first fucking place? You look for the crazy, insane ramblings of people, and you're just like, hey, you want to get involved? We got some shit going on. Hell yeah, it sounds fun. You're literally just thinking you're just gonna go up and meet some people that are just like you, have some fucking beers. Now it's an actual fucking thing. You realize it really is a thing later on, and then you can't prove that the actual government was the one setting that shit up from you. Yes, 100%. There's no way you can argue this, dude. You really can't.
Dude,
You can't.
Hold on.
You cannot argue in any way that it is a good situation that a person cannot prove their fucking innocence in the court of law. There is no way. Your argument is yes, they can, and the reason is because the government agrees that they don't want to be implicated in the involvement in the kidnapping case of Gretchen Whitmer. What?
No, that is not my argument at all. Again, you're misrepresenting me. Thank you. My
I
argument.
just summed up I paraphrased the last, hour?
No, you did not. Anyways.
Okay.
Barry
Go
Croft, who was under investigation since October of 2019, which is, I believe, let's see, two plus about 8 or 9 months before they ever met a government informant. They had plans to kidnap a governor. He is quoted saying, I've been wanting to kidnap a governor since December of 2019. He is arrested in October.
How many motherfuckers say that on a daily basis?
Well,
Okay,
how many
yeah.
motherfuckers take steps to actually do it? You need both.
There would be a lot more motherfuckers that would take steps to actually do it if you gave them every opportunity to do so, which is entrapment.
It's only entrapment if you weren't already trying to commit the crime. He was already looking for ways to commit this crime. He was already trying to find it.
Fuck, I can commit the crime without your resources and knowledge. Then I do not intend to commit the crime. I only have an idea of doing so. The ideology is a problem, yes, but the ideology is there. The intent is not there until there is an ability to have the ideology carried out.
You mean they didn't
No.
already have the ability? Because they already had the ability to plan. They already had these field training exercises. Croft was already connected with the Wolverine Watchmen, who were the co-defendants in this case, looking for ways to start another American Revolution. This all happened before they met an informant. So you are factually wrong, sir. You are incorrect. You are lying, actually, at this moment.
Everything that I have done as a Southern person, the same damn thing, field training, all that, weapons training, medic training, all that, it can be used to prove that I was in a kidnapping case and that I was prepping to do it because me, as a Southern person, does that on a regular basis for fun.
Do you actively say, I'm doing this with the intention of kidnapping a governor? And that is what our plan is. That's why we're here at this field training exercise to practice and do first aid and practice small squad tactics and room clearing. If you say all those things and then go do those things, then yes, you are in conspiracy to commit a crime. And if you go across state lines to buy C4 from a government agent so that you can carry out this crime, you are in violation of the law. You need to do all of those things. No one is forcing them to go buy C4.
First of all, that I have no argument with.
Then I win, I guess.
My argument was, how in the fuck can you block evidence that the government was the one that set this up? The government gave you means, the government gave you access, the government gave you information, the government gave you everything to carry this out. You wanted intent. Where is the intent if you don't have the means?
Well, that would be illegal.
So if the government gives you the means, that is entrapment because there was no intent without the means behind it.
What were the means that the government gave them in this case?
The ability to do it.
In what way?
Information too.
The information.
All the information, the material that would need to be done, the plan that would need to be done, who needs to be doing what, when, where, how. Yes.
I believe the people who were found guilty are the ones who funded the purchase of the C4 and the ropes and the zip ties, not the government informants. It was Adam Fox, Barry Croft, Joseph Morrison, Peter Musico, and Paul Ballar, alongside Ty Garbin, Caleb Franks, Sean Fix, and Brian Higgins. And the last four all testified in their trials of the others that, yeah, they did this on their own without the government telling them to do it.
Who was it that offered the C4 to be bought?
I believe it was Chapel. However, this was after Fox went to his friend. I have it quoted here somewhere. Let's see.
Wasn't the C4 offered from a government informant with government ties that would further the plot just to keep it going? So you mean they offered them the means?
Well, they didn't give them C4, did
Huh.
they? Did they give them the C4, or did they arrest them when they tried to
Then
purchase
the
it?
access to it is all you would need to prove intent, correct?
No. The willingness to go buy it is what they need to prove intent. And it supports the proof
You
for
would
intent.
not
It
be
isn't the
willing to
only
go buy
evidence.
something you cannot fucking get. If I give you the ability to go get it, you willingly buying it because I give you the ability is the intent in that, yes. But where is the means coming from?
Okay.
The government.
Let's go back to my example.
Holy shit.
Let's go back to the drug dealing example, the drug
Oh my,
snatch.
oh my god.
If
Oh
I
my
could,
God.
please, if I could
Oh
have
my
the floor.
Go ahead.
If you could stop panicking
Yeah,
for
go
just a
ahead.
moment. In the drug dealing example, which is very analogous to this, if I, as you know, this perfect little white boy, you know, innocent of all things, just fresh out of church, I decide I want to try some drugs. I go to someone who happens to be an undercover cop, and I say I would like to purchase some drugs. And for whatever reason, he says, "You got to go to this other undercover cop, and he will sell you drugs." And you go there asking for drugs. They would arrest you for solicitation of drugs, or prostitution, or any number of things that you might find in a sting operation that is completely standard and legal. The issue is that you are trying to commit this act. You happen to fuck up and you went to a government informant instead of an actual dealer. But because you went there, you thought you were buying explosives for carrying out this crime. That makes it evidence of conspiracy to commit a crime. You may have the floor again, sir.
Yes. I don't argue that.
Then I don't know
There
why we're
would've
arguing.
been
It
no-
seems like I won. This was completely justified.
No.
They already wanted to commit a crime.
I'm saying you wanted intent. Okay, the intent was to do this. There would be no intent if there was no means to get this C4.
They
Yes.
did. They
I
had
do
no
not
means to get the
argue.
C4.
I do not argue. I do not argue that the intent to go get the C4 was to further this. I got no fucking problem with that. My argument is when you are removing that information and you cannot bring that up as a defense in court, that kind of shit is bad. Correct.
Not bad, no. Why is it bad
It's
to
not
say
bad
that?
to
Oh,
prove that you can't. It's not bad to not be able to prove your innocence in court.
wait, you're saying that they can't prove that they went to go get C4 and it was offered by the government?
No, I'm saying if you
You just said that
if
though.
you cannot, if
How
you
do you? How did?
yes,
I have a question.
I am trying to get it through to you with every action here in court.
You're
If you
spiraling, bro.
cannot prove,
You're
I'm not-
spiraling. All of these factors coming together all prove all the different elements of the crime. They had a plan. They did a reconnaissance. They had Facebook messages from a year before that continued for over a year and got worse after COVID started because they were crazy. And all of that coming together
Wait.
with them making a plan and going to the get C4
Wait.
and doing drills and having these houses that they fucking practice clearing. All of that comes
When?
together to prove the case.
when did I argue they were innocent or guilty? I argued not being allowed to prove that there's government involvement in the case is bad. When did I argue their guilt or innocence in any of it?
Wait, so you admit
You're
that they're
trying
guilty?
to no, you're moving the goalpost with that. You wanted to prove that I lied about the misrepresentation of this entire goddamn thing when all I said was government blocked information that proved that they were involved, or the judge blocked information that the government was involved. That was my claim. You wanted to prove I lied?
Wait, how do you think
Because
that? Wait,
I lied because the government agrees that the judge says it is immaterial that the evidence that caused a mistrial before it cannot be here because it's immaterial to the case.
wait.
I somehow lied about this. This
gonna
is the
step in
whole
for a
You
second?
did. You
justification.
did.
I'm gonna step in for a second. I have to leave in like 30 minutes, so I don't know how you guys want to wrap things. But yeah, just to give you a heads up.
It seems to be a 1v1. We're good.
Okay,
I
okay.
trust Rick.
All right. Do you want to just get going then now? Is that
Whatever,
cool?
whatever you want, dude. It's okay.
All right.
I'm a retired special ops man. Trusting me is your first mistake.
I made a lot of those in my life. Don't worry about it, bro.
I know. I trust you too. Okay. I can get some mods. We did a good job. All right. I'll see you guys. Bye.
Hey, bro.
I
Okay.
I don't understand how we can continue to have this argument where you're trying to dance around how you think I lied about my representation about this case.
Well, I
I don't
don't.
understand
Okay.
why you can't just admit. You even admitted before we go. Yeah, in that context I agree with you. And then we went around this for an hour and a half for you to try to pick apart the same argument that even CNN made.
Okay. Well,
What the actual fuck, dude?
Okay. I'm about to concede to you. Don't worry. It's okay. I'm gonna concede to you. So I will concede that you did not lie. You were just uninformed. You were making statements out your ass without any knowledge. I will concede
No.
that. I believe that.
No.
Well, you said you hadn't read this court case, right?
It doesn't matter what the appellate court case says. My representation still stands. The judge did not allow information for the defendants to argue their case. That was my argument. Am I or am I not correct? That did or did not happen.
The judge did block some evidence.
Okay. Evidence that was actually what gave him the mistrial in the first place.
That's what I contend with. Because the
We can
appeals court.
contend with all that. I will find all that information to go back and prove it to you. I
Please
have
do.
no fucking problem doing that.
I'll wait. Please
When
do.
you cannot prove the same shit that caused a mistrial in your next case, that is entrapment. Even CNN made that fucking argument. That was my argument. Their guilt or innocence is irrelevant to the whole fucking point.
Let's do this. Why don't you bring up the CNN article? Let's look at it together.
Okay.
They're at the top, please. A little bit. Oh, actually, that's fine. You see at the very, very top, updated 10:41 a.m. CDT, June 12th of 2024. This court case or this appeals decision came out in 2025. So this is before that. Now, why don't you go ahead and read that article for me, as much as you feel is important.
Appeals court is raising major questions about the trial of the two key figures in the plot kidnapping president. After hearing an argument in May, the court took uncommon steps about asking written briefs for the impact of the trial judges, bar evidence that may have supported claims to the entrapment made by Adam Fox and Barry Croft.
Pause real fast. So they're saying it may, or let's see, after hearings, so asking for more written briefs on the impact of a trial judge's decision to bar evidence. So they're asking for briefs right here. So you may continue.
Fox and Croft are in prison, blah, 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 blah. Defense attorney wanted jurors to see more communications between FBI handlers, undercover agents, paid informants who had fooled Fox and Croft and got inside the group. They argued that any plan to kidnap Whitmer was repeatedly pushed by those government actors.
Pause,
That
real fast.
information, what was a mistrial.
That is what the defense, they're reporting on what the defense was saying. That's not fact. That's them just saying, oh, this is the defense's arguments, right? Do you agree with that statement?
Okay, yes.
And those
So
arguments
what,
were
CNN? I'm sorry, this isn't CNN. This is AP. AP didn't make that argument. They're just reporting the argument has been made. You got a point. Okay.
okay, and that the argument was heard in the appeals court. And as I said before, the appeals court did
Okay,
not
but
see how that evidence was
Just a
relevant.
second before both of you continue on. Both of you, please do me a favor and read the last sentence in that story.
The 2022 trial, U.S. District Court, Robert Jonker greatly restricted the use of certain messages and audio recordings under his interpretation of evidence rules.
Yeah.
That 2022 trial is the second trial that Richard is referring to, saying the judge blocked them from using evidence that had been used in the mistrial.
Correct. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure that point was clear for everybody because you guys keep talking about, yeah, it was, no, it wasn't.
Oh,
and
wait.
I
What?
wanted to make sure that statement was in there.
Wait, hold. I actually let me Google that real fast. I don't feel confident in that. Yes. That is the second trial, actually. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Where they were convicted.
Yes.
Where there
The
was
first one
there
was
was
a mistrial because the jury could not agree. There was a reasonable doubt that the jury was a hung jury. They had a mistrial. The next trial came up, and the judge blocked crucial evidence that would have proven their point.
yes.
That was my argument. So how in the hell can you say I misrepresented that?
Because the appeals court came out. Keep in mind, I already took it
I
back.
don't
said
give
you
a
were just
fuck what the
misinformed.
appeals court came out about.
Well,
that.
the appeals
No.
court read
You're
it
g-
all. This was what
Okay.
the appeal was based on. They said, look at this evidence. Shouldn't it have been in the trial? And the judges in the appeals court said, nah, not really. It's not relevant.
Okay, so let's give another little example here. Let's say a judge allows a known perjurer on stand,
Okay.
but that known perjurer commits perjury on that stand. The defense actually brings up the fact that he commit perjury again, but the judge still allow the perjury to stand. What do you think of that?
I think that'd be illegal, but I don't think that's what happened here.
It's not what happened here, but it was allowed to happen in another courtroom because the judge has full authority, right?
In some ways, yeah. They can be overturned by an appeals court, though, if they violate their rules. And the appeals court declined to overturn anything here. They said they were acting correctly. Because they said the evidence that they showed didn't harm the case
Okay.
at all. It was not relevant.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. If Michael Cohen, a known perjurer, lies on stand about being arrested and imprisoned or for lying to Congress under oath, should that be allowed to stand in a Trump trial?
What do you mean stand? Like they get their lie under oath and then Trump's somehow
Should his
implicated?
testimony still be allowed and thought of as valid?
I think you would want to have corroborating evidence before you trust it.
If the dude lied on stand under oath about lying to Congress on the court stand and his testimony was still allowed, is that wrong?
Actually, you know what? I'll change my answer. It is wrong, and you can throw it out entirely if you so choose.
So why the fuck was it still allowed in the Stormy Daniels case?
I didn't research the Stormy Daniels case, dude. I have no idea. I'm here to discuss
Okay.
Michigan.
That's the point. It was still allowed in that case. That case was still found led to him being guilty. And so you're telling me an appellate court can't sit there and say, no, we investigated ourselves and we found we did nothing wrong?
They're saying they investigated the district court. They're not themselves. Separate entity. And they're saying that the district court excluded evidence which the appeals court reviewed. And they said, yeah, this is like them talking about fucking Sunday brunch. This isn't relevant. We know from the appeals or from the actual district court who the guy that they're talking about was. Robson. Also, this is a fun fact. I can't believe I waited this long to bring it up. Or no, I think I mentioned it before. Robeson was arrested 2 weeks before they ever tried to go buy the C4 explosives and they got arrested. So if he was the reason they were doing this, when he disappeared, why is it that fucking they still went and tried to do it? So he wasn't the guy pushing it, was he?
And so let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If I couldn't prove that in court, how would you know? It would be my word against yours, right?
Well, I believe they did mention it. What they were saying is that excess text messages and phone calls, which had nothing to do with the case, weren't allowed in.
What I am saying is anytime in any one of your arguments, you can always say, well, the judge blocked me from proving evidence that I'm not guilty in that point.
How about this? Instead of us trusting the appeals court's decision, why don't you bring up some of this evidence that was rejected and we can analyze it, you and me?
I would have to go back through all that shit.
Why don't you?
I would have to go back, what, years? 2019? Now, that's going to be a deep dive into that shit.
I got nothing but time. It's a 3-day weekend, bro. Let's go.
I do
Bring it
not
up.
have that time for this fucking channel to sit here and go through all that shit with you.
Then I guess you don't have the time to win this argument because that's the evidence you would need to prove that you're right. Meanwhile, I have the appeals decision right in front of me.
The evidence
saying that you're
I
wrong.
would need to prove that I'm right, that it is bad, that the government agrees with a judge that you can't prove your innocence and that the government was involved. I don't understand where you're coming up with this. You can't win the argument.
Bro, do you see how much you struggled to summarize your own argument there? Oh my! If you can't even summarize it, how could I? Like,
I,
oh
I'm
my god,
trying to walk down the road of stupidity with you. It is hard for me.
you're doing great
It
though.
is really fucking hard for me
You're killing it.
because you are trying to argue at the entire time that I somehow lied about the government being involved in this case and a judge of blocking evidence that the government was involved. And you're saying no, somehow that's all okay because an appellate court says so?
Well, I'm saying that the appellate court reviewed the evidence that you can't bring up before me, and so I have to rely on their analysis, and their analysis was that it was irrelevant. The evidence that you're discussing, I'm not even admitting that evidence is what you say it is, but whatever evidence that they blocked from being seen, the appeals court saw it and they said, yeah, this isn't relevant to the case.
Okay. So there was an indictment that goes with what was her name? Letitia James on mortgage fraud. The same shit she went after Trump with. Well, not the exact same thing, not the exact same details. But that
Quite
went
different.
up. There was an indictment that went out for her. They dismissed it all
They did indeed.
because everything was irrelevant.
I believe
Well, not because it was irrelevant, but
they dismissed it, I believe, because the person who brought the charges wasn't actually a U.S. attorney. Lindsay Halligan, are you
you mean
familiar?
like Jack Smith? Yes, you mean like Jack Smith.
I don't know if Jack Smith has been found in court to not be a U.S. attorney, but I know Lindsay Halligan was.
Yes, because that was the Cannon decision. And then what was that? Dugan? Not Dugan, not the Rick, help me out. The other judge in New York, the one that never went to trial?
Alina Abba.
No, the judge in that one.
Oh,
I want to say Duncan
no.
Dugan was
Dugan
Door.
is the one from Wisconsin or Minnesota
Right.
that helped the guy get out the back door.
Right. What was her name? It's Chutkin. Yeah, that's
Chutkin.
it. Yeah. Just like Judge Chutkin tried to push the same damn thing that was dismissed in Florida because uh Jack Smith couldn't bring charges.
I already told you I'm not familiar with the January 6th trials.
That's not January 6th. Well, I mean, it kind of is, but that was a different situation altogether. That was the insurrection charges that they were trying to bring up on Trump.
Okay. What's that have to
Okay.
do with this?
What does that have to do with this? Oh, wasn't Lindsay Halligan not found to be an attorney? Yeah, just like Jack Smith wasn't an actual special counsel.
What do either of those
That's
things
what
have
was
to
my
do
argument.
with? How does that relate to Michigan?
And then how did you get off onto this subject? Because you're the one that deflected to this point.
You're the one who brought him up. You're the one who brought up Letitia James, remember?
And yes, because I was going back and relevating this whole point to you about, hey, the indictment was actually dropped off for anybody could assume for political reasons. Why? Because she's not one? Oh, yeah. Didn't they go forward with Jack Smith on that one? I don't understand how you're trying to act like this isn't hard to follow.
You know, I'm
Dude, stop. All right?
Can I just have the floor for 1 second? I'm really impressed by your ability
Go
to
ahead,
adapt.
because we're going to actually end this because this is fucking stupid. You have proven absolutely nothing except for the fact that I'm right, and you just want to argue.
Okay, can you bring up my stream
Like I
then?
said from the very beginning. Hold on. Like I said from the very beginning, my mistake the first time was I thought you were a serious person. You're not. You just want to clown. You just want to argue. You just want to fight.
I would like to make my closing
And this
arguments,
has
please.
been a pathetic fucking argument. To sit there and say, I somehow misrepresented this shit just because that the government somehow did this and it's not bad. That was my argument the entire fucking time. And your argument was, no, the appellate court said it was still wrong. Whether they're guilty or not was never the argument. My argument to you was that the government was involved in this case and a judge blocked evidence that could have helped the defense. That was my argument. I don't know how I lied about that. We have gone through an hour and a half, and I do want to apologize to you, Rick. I know what you've been through, man. It's I appreciate the fuck that you actually agreed to do this with me. But holy shit, I don't understand how you think any bit of the evidence you showed me about their innocence or guilt can actually refute the fact that the judge blocked evidence that could have helped the defense. Crucial evidence that could have helped the defense. You didn't even argue that. You argued the details of innocence or guilt. I don't give a fuck about innocence or guilt. I give a fuck about the corruption in the case that says you can't argue your innocence. That was my argument. You knew that, and you tried to twist this into some kind of TikTok debate debacle bullshit. You're not a serious person. You were looking for clips. I hope what you got what you wanted tonight, but this is pathetic.
Can I have my 10 minutes for closing arguments real fast? Rick?
You can go ahead.
Okay, if you would bring up my screen, please. I created a whole slideshow for you. So, my closing arguments for this pleasant debate. Slide 1. You need to value your source. It needs to be a reliable source. And in this debate, I feel I brought evidence. I brought the actual court documents. It's kind of funny to me that Drunken Senpai could only bring one that he didn't even use because it was the wrong one, and then refused to bring more. So I think that's important. But you should ask yourself, who is evil and who is Drunken Senpai? As for who is evil, I'm the guy who left a comment calling him out for being wrong on something, and when he flipped out and said, debate me live, I said, okay, bet. I have integrity. I can back up what I say. I'll show up. Now, it was my first ever long-form debate, so I apologize if I didn't do that well, but I like to think I learned fast, and I did pretty decently in this one. Now, who is Drunken Senpai? That is the question for all of us, really. He is the guy who does an emergency cope stream right after he won our last debate, where I'm conveniently not there to defend myself, but he spends 15 minutes talking shit about me afterwards? Is that the actions of someone who won? Let's see. My first comment to him afterwards, lol, living rent-free. Let me know if you ever want to debate again. It's always fun to make MAGA idiots lose their cool. Which I think is a very measured response, considering he took 15 minutes out of his day for, let's see here, what does that first comment say? Bonus show? A show that he wasn't even originally going to do, but felt he needed to do because he got beaten so badly in the last debate? Let's see what else he had to say. He said, I love how restarts act like it's a badge of honor to be so stupid. Did I lose my cool? It's enjoyment to make fun of the pathetic. It's entertaining to insult the stupid. It's a pastime of mine to make those that are below the standard to classify as human look like the subtarded facsimile of a human being you've always been. But hey, take heart. I blame your mother for it. It's her fault she didn't take it in the ass the day you were conceived. As if that failure to humanity wasn't enough, the Doomster decided to not scooping you out of the womb. I'm going to assume you meant you wish she aborted me. Then to add insult to injury, the subhuman that gave birth to such defective sperm either A, gave up on the attempt to make you an intelligent form of life, or B, tried the gutter sleuth's very best, and the best attempt she could muster is you. He continues with this vile rhetoric, but let me ask you, he claims he won the debate. Is that the kind of thing a person who won a debate says and does? Makes a whole cope stream and then says all this after I call him on it? Just a little poke at the kind of nasty trick he was playing there? I don't think so. I even call him out at the bottom. I say, this is definitely the kind of thing people say after winning a debate. Kissy face, Slay King. That's said because, hey, I'm not trying to start shit again, but if you want to, I'm here for it. let's move on. He responds to this. Ha ha. Your whole argument was exactly as I broke it down, and your justification was because Orange Man exists. There's no point in respecting a subhuman troglodyte when your argument is people can do whatever they want because Orange Man exists. You said you work with Democrats? No wonder they're losing everywhere. You're too stupid to be in any society. Even the inbred rapist Somali population has a higher IQ than you. Wow, that's coming from the guy who last debate said racism is dead. Holy shit, I guess you found it, didn't you, bud? So I want to ask, where did all this bravery go? Because shortly after that, you say, you're happy to 2v1 me, you can 1v2, whatever, wherever I want to go. You're so confident you're going to win. And yet, where are we doing this debate? In your Discord, where you have the mute powers, where you have the authority in front of a hostile audience. Not some neutral ground like I wanted. We're doing it on your friendly little hug box area. That's what he's doing. Moving on, he completely misinterprets arguments, and I would contend that it's intentional. And if not, then he needs a fucking doctor, because he would have medical conditions. He would not be able to breathe unassisted if he was actually this stupid. Off-label says, I've already applied. That's the SPLC hearing. Take the time to listen. I know engaging your brain for more than animalistic instincts feels like it's killing you, but I promise that's just neurons making connections so your brain can process information. Seems to be a bit of shit talking. At the bottom, he says, civilians still cannot commit hate crimes for a civilian organization, and the crimes they commit are fine as long as someone calls them an informant. Sorry, not how it works. You'd have an argument if it were actually how law enforcement, but not civilian, even then strict rules of law enforcement not to participate in actual events. I apologize, I'm reading it word for word, that's why it sounds fucking stupid. So he can't give a good faith interpretation of my arguments, but he wants to say I'm the liar and I'm the one who's out here just saying shit to get TikTok clips. No sir, fuck that, you are incorrect. Also, let's move on to his sources, which you saw when he pulled up the CNN source. I don't know if he realized how bad that made him look, but it looks like you're a fucking idiot. He says, CBS News entrapment in play. This is the source he told me he was planning to use. When you look at the source, it's from before the appeals court came out, which I pointed out is the same thing for the CNN court. The guy who supposedly follows these court cases super closely, he just conveniently missed the one court case that makes his argument look bad. Holy, wow, what a coincidence is that? Oh my gosh, how unfortunate. But, actually, if you want to read all these comments, because it's about 30 comments, it's way too long for me to read, that is what the thumbnail of the video looks like. That is the video's URL at the top. I encourage you to go in there and just see how fucking unhinged this guy is. And let's get on to what actually triggered me, though. You mentioned here, I have it highlighted twice in the comments, twice in emails, that your friend is Special Forces and a Marine. Now, you mentioned that 4 times in 1 hour. After all this vitriol you're spewing at me, I'm just like, okay, cool. It's not getting to me. It's not getting to me. Not getting to me. Then you finally drop this. I can only assume that you mentioned his military service 4 times because you were trying to intimidate me. That is fucked up. You're gonna hide behind your friend's military service to try to intimidate someone? Listen, bud, if you want to hide behind someone's military service, it best be your fucking own, okay? Anything shy of that is despicable. You are a subhuman piece of trash for that. And I hope you burn in hell when you finally pass. The end. Off label. You can go get fucked. You are a cowardly piece of shit.
Oh my god, that was fucking amazing, dude. Your whole goddamn reason for doing this is I insulted you to...
Before we go into brainwashing. So I have evidence. I have screenshot evidence that